Previously on Slay. Lincoln, Billy, Lukas, Sophia, Kellius Droman, and Morgan Stone assaulted the Big Nasty's Burger joint located just outside the main gates of the Bastion fortress in Coris. At the restaurant, Lincoln and his comrades found the elevator that leads to Teddy Two Fingers' lair. In that lair, Teddy's already evacuating his line workers, the kidnapped paranormal children, whose nightmares he harvests to make the purest filament in existence, filament for which Teddy demands and receives astronomical sums from weavers and meshworkers alike. Teddy also let loose his leash on Haimana, his powerful meshworker who pledged to kill Kellius Droman this very day or die trying. Haimana isn't alone in her bloodlust. Teddy's centipede-armed, orange-clawed thug Agneetha wants Lincoln's head. Haimana, Agneetha, and many of Teddy's thuengol mercenaries prepare to fight Lincoln, Droman, and the others. Meanwhile, Teddy's prized prodigal foreman, Kellius' daughter Delilah, is done with waiting to be rescued. Her sanity cracking at the edges, Delilah is about to take matters into her own hands and unleash devastating dream magic upon her captor. And now, episode 69 of Slay. Link, you there? No answer. Magda held Ariella's sphere. The lawyer had tethered it to Magda's connection with Lincoln. Magda saw and heard what Link saw and heard. The orb Magda saw and heard what Link saw and heard. Magda saw and heard what Link saw and heard. The orb replicated both, playing the sound, casting the visual onto the knave's big screen. At that moment, the screen showed nothing but pearlescent green swirls. Maybe it's the mesh buzz, Ariella said. That, or the asshole turned it off. Both options were equally likely. Magda remembered her days at the Bastion fortress. Magic was a crapshoot there. The inability for outsiders to look within that buzz was a primary element of the Bastion's defenses. No matter how badass you were, no matter how many soldiers you had, no one wanted to walk in blind and face an unknown number of traps and automaton defenses, an unknown number of rixators and monks, and an unknown member of adjurators with unknown levels of power. The Bastion's aura gave the clearinghouse similar protection. Few people had the stones to try and rob the clearinghouse when they had no idea what awaited for them. When they had no idea what awaited within. The few that did try simply disappeared, never to be heard from again. How fucking smart Teddy was to put his lair within that aura. Maybe the guy couldn't take Link in a one-on-one fight, but he ran circles around Link in the brains department. Magda as well, she had to admit. Magda's internal vision swirled. The milky green on the screen swished with hurricane intensity. Then what looked like a rickety wooden closet appeared. Mags, can you hear me now? His voice. What a relief. I hear you, Magda said. You all okay? We're good, Lincoln said. Big Nasty's cleared out. We're at an elevator that supposedly leads down to Teddy's lair. An elevator? The thing looked like a coffin fit for 8. The visual turned. Magda saw brooding Lukas, intense Sophia, nervous Billy, calm as fuck Morgan Stone with her long white hair, and Kellius Droman, seething with anger. Mags, we're going down, Link said. Can you... Teddy, Mike... the buzz... The image on the screen cut in and out in time with his breaking vocals. A split second later, nothing but swirling milky green. Link? Link, you there? No answer. It's the buzz, Ariella said. What do you think he asked us to do? Magda's frustration grew, crawling into her temples, making her pulse quicken. If she could only be there, at his side. Her weakness. Her failure. If Link died, or if Billy died, she would never be able to forgive herself. I don't know, she said. Nothing she and Ariella could do now. Nothing but wait. Lost him, Lincoln said. We gotta go now before Teddy escapes. He's got other ways out. Trust me on that. Billy looked to Sophia. It was her call. Were they really going to cram into this rickety wooden crate straight out of Wild Wild West and descend into who knew what? Maybe there's stairs somewhere, Billy said. I could look around. Kellius Droman stepped into the elevator. He turned, glared out. My power will protect us, he said. We don't have time for cowardice. All heads turned to Sophia. With her hood pulled down and her cloak around her, she made Billy think of the Grim Reaper. Quiet power, deadly power. This is obviously a trap, she said, but they also use it regularly, so we know it works. Stay sharp. Be ready to help each other. Sophia stepped in, Lukas her silent shadow. Lincoln entered. I feel this will end poorly, Morgan said. Then she stepped in as well. Billy found himself standing alone at the elevator entrance. Everyone looked at him, waiting. You don't gotta come, Lincoln said, but head home or get in. Teddy seemed to always be prepared, to be several steps ahead of everyone else. He would have prepared for enemies to use this very elevator. But if Link was willing to risk it, so were the others. Head home or get in. Billy got in. If you put your nuts on the chopping block, don't be surprised when the axe falls. It wasn't a quote as far as Lincoln knew, but some wise man somewhere probably said something a lot like it. No button, Lukas said. Make it go down. Droman raised his hands, wiggled his fingers. Green energy sparked, danced between his knuckles and his emerald pendant. It's automated, he said. I sense the vestiges of my apprentice in this mesh. Her power is no match for mine. Droman's lush energy shot up to the rickety wooden ceiling, spread across the worm-eaten boards, crept down the walls in dancing green sparks. The elevator dropped, stopped with a rattle, continued down again. As if in outrage at such rough treatment, long black thorns stretched out from the left and right walls. In an instant, Link, Sophia, Billy, and Morgan pressed their backs against Droman, protecting him from the stretching thorns. No, not thorns. Insectile stingers. Weapons flashed. Link's skegaks, Sophia's punch daggers, Billy's machete, Morgan's naginata. Lukas used his armored hands, grabbing and breaking and punching. Acrid fluid dripped from the broken stingers, fluid that hit the floor of the rattling elevator and steamed up in a mist. Poison gas, Droman said. Morgan! Excuse me. Morgan's naginata thrust upward, cracked through a ceiling board. Kotishi wa... Hold on, forget. Give me a second. I changed it and forgot about it. Oh, yeah. Kotishi wa niaguaheto kwanema, she said. As Lincoln, Billy, Lukas, and Sophia continued their close quarters assault on the spikes, a strong wind blew up from below, making the still descending elevator rattle like an outhouse in a gale, carrying the venom mist up through the hole. The wooden walls shuddered, groaned, started to buck and waver. "Morgan, back off," Sophia said. "You're tearing the wood apart." "I can't control it." Morgan sneered with effort, with concentration. "The mesh buzz is magnifying my spell." The floor jounced and jerked, throwing Lincoln against his brother's shoulder, rolling him into Billy, all the while using Bastard Maker to hack at the stretching, poison-dripping stingers. "The walls!" Billy shouted, fear darkening his voice. "The walls got little fucking feet! They're closing in!" The snare drum bouncing floor knocked Lincoln off balance, threw his weight against Droman, who grunted and hummed a deep-throated growl, his body awash in shimmering green. The mage braced, pushed back against Lincoln, helping Lincoln regain his balance in time to arc Bastard Maker through a pair of the foot-long stingers. Link looked to the floor's edges, saw the reason for Billy's panic. The wood there had grown thousands of tiny insect legs, legs that crept forward like a living, gleaming beard, bringing the walls they supported along with them. 10 feet of space became 9, became 8. Moving walls, reaching stingers. Lincoln and the others packed in closer around Droman. And still the elevator descended, faster and faster. The woods rattle a dark, demonic moaning. "Lincoln," Lukas said, "brace your foot against mine." Lincoln did, saw the strategy in an instant. The outer edge of their armored boots side by side, they reached out their gauntleted hands and gripped severed stingers, used them to push back against the creeping wall. From every remaining flat spot on the walls, more stingers budded and stretched out. Sophia and Billy hacked like mad, their backs against Droman, truncated hacks cutting at stingers reaching for them, for the faces of Lincoln and Lukas and Morgan. Lincoln pushed against the wall, turning his head this way and that to avoid the stingers, feeling the solidity of his brother's foot, bracing against it as his brother braced against him. The walls crept closer, slowed but not stopped. Lincoln's arms began to sizzle with exhaustion. "Walt," he said, "burn the little feet. Do it." Billy sliced. "I can't." He sliced again. "The mesh buzz. I could lose control." "Walter, do it," Droman said. "Focus and execute." Droman's words must have held more weight than Lincoln's, for Billy dropped his machete and raised his hands, hands that instantly burst into ruby red flames. Delilah struggled against the chains, tried to breathe through the black hood over her face. "Stop struggling," the thuengol said. "If you don't calm down, I will bite your tits." The odd threat gave Delilah pause. The thuengol's long mouth and sharp teeth would hurt. The chain cinched tighter, pinning her arms against her sides. "That's better," the thuengol said. Amethysta. Amethysta. That was its name. Delilah had heard one of the other beasts say it. Something about that name, Delilah remembered. From Gabriella's mind. Amethysta had helped kidnap Gabby from her home. Teddy would die. Haimana would die. Agneetha would die, and so, too, would Amethysta. "Let's move," Amethysta said, a disembodied voice in the hooded darkness. "Hold her up. Don't let her fall. Let's go." Scaly hands grabbed Delilah's upper arms, dragged her stumbling along. They led her down the corridor, and as they did, Delilah knew it was time. She closed her eyes, let herself half slip into the dream realm. There, Delilah wore no hood, no chains. Nothing to stop her from conjuring her cell phone. In the space where she flourished, where she was more than anyone knew, she started to swipe right, reaching into mind after mind, and from there into gaunt after gaunt, taking control of the hideous beasts. The power coursed through him. Heat in his veins, fire in his muscles, incandescence in his soul. Flame that wasn't flame coursed from Billy's hands, his filament's violent force capable of ripping atoms apart, releasing their energy in a cascading cataclysm. Flame that wasn't flame, a thick, scintillating syrup crackling with fire as it splashed against the base of the wall, scorching and crisping the thousand insect legs, curling and blackening them. Billy saw no heads, no parts that could make noise, yet make noise they did. A million screams piercing his mind. He saw a fiber pattern in the flames, significant and instantly recognizable, a mesh fingerprint. The mark of the leg's creator, Haimana. Billy turned, let his flaming syrup splash the base of the other wall. More blackening, more flames, more screaming. He felt her, the bug wizard, an echo of her soul rife with wickedness and hate. Power in that hate, pureness in that hate. An emotional gateway to energy reserves drawn from the depths of primitive existence. Hate. He could smell it. And it smelled good. Droman grabbed his shoulder, shook him. "William, shut it down!" The hate fled. The screams vanished, their ungodly tones replaced by the all too familiar savage crackle of flames wiggling their way into old, dry wood. The elevator wall was a sheet of fire. Stingers twitched and writhed, the instant heat warping their chitin, sizzling like fries just dropped deep into boiling oil. And still the elevator descended, screeching toward the bottom. Lincoln, coughing. Sophia shrinking back against Droman, who was engulfed in a shroud of eye-squinting green. Lukas slapping at the flames, kissing his cloak. Morgan covering her mouth with the crook of her arm. Two walls carpeted in fire, the blaze dancing across the ceiling. To most, it was simple, angry, deadly fire, but not to Billy. To Billy, the coursing reds were life and death made manifest, made tangible, a harvest to be reaped under his scythe. Billy drew it, all of it, into him, a deep breath pulling that life and death inside his body, where it disintegrated, dissolved, became vibrating filament that wiggled and writhed and found a home in a space he hadn't known existed. A space like Lincoln's cloak. Power like this, such a rush. And then it was gone. The flames are no more. The charcoaled wood shimmered with glowing heat. Morgan's wind drove the wafts of smoldering smoke upward. "Holy fuck," Lincoln said. "Kid, holy fuck." The elevator slammed to a stop, throwing all to the floor in a pile of arms and legs. Lukas groaned in pain. "Damn it, Droman, give us a warning, will you?" "That wasn't me," Droman said. "I feel something. The elevator's floor opened, two halves flopping down to slam against the shaft wall. Billy fell. He reached out, dug his fingers into the charred door, stopping himself. The still smoking embers burned into his skin. Lincoln's axe dug into the elevator's wooden wall, deep enough to hold his weight. His grip on Bastard Maker's handle was all that kept him from falling. Droman, Morgan, and Sophia dropped away. Billy hung there, one smoldering hand dug into a still-glowing, cindered flap that had been half of the floor. Lukas dangled from the thin, jagged hole Morgan had cut into the ceiling, his feet kicking, searching for purchase. A board snapped. Lukas dropped fast. Lincoln reached out for his brother's fluttering cloak, but just missed it. Billy screamed in pain. Lincoln arced away from him, then kicked forward, a human pendulum driven by gravity. Billy's clutching fingers ripped free in a shower of sparking coals. He fell. Lincoln reached down and down, caught Billy's wrist. Billy's weight thudded to a halt, damn near yanking Lincoln's grip free of Bastard Maker and sending them both plummeting. Billy dangled there. Glowing cinders hit the ground. 25 feet below? 30? Not too far if Lincoln's stored mesh worked. "Descendat," he said, and waited for the fluttering feeling in his feet that told him he could float downward. That flutter flared, then died. Fucking mesh buzz. Cyclone wind whipped up so strong it flapped Lincoln's lips and slapped his cheeks. "Lincoln, let go! I have you!" Morgan's voice, barely audible over the screeching, punishing wind. Lincoln had no idea how high he was, but his options were few. He decided to trust Morgan's power. With a yank of his right arm and a grunting twist of his right wrist, Bastard Maker popped free. Lincoln drifted down slowly, buffeted by wind so strong it stole his breath, and then the wind sputtered out. He and Billy dropped like stones. Lincoln saw the glowing coals on the floor below, their orange-red shimmering slightly. Then the wind blasted upward again, slowing him just before he smashed into the stone floor in a dull rattle of armor and weapons. A moment of blackness, of spinny blankness, then the world faded back in, and with it, the sound of his brother moaning in agony. Green swirls spasmed across the nav's big screen, coursed, fuzzed out partially, but not all the way. "You got him back," Ariella said. "Almost. It's hard to see what's happening. Whose voice am I hearing?" It wasn't a voice. It was a muffled howl of pain. A man in suffering trying hard to not cry out. Was it Lincoln? Was it Billy? A flash of green. Droman's amulet, casting everything in a night vision light. On the screen and in Magda's head, Lukas Franks in his armor, writhing in pain. Cloak beneath him, spread out to his right. "Oh my God," Ariella said. "Look at his knee." Lukas's armored left foreleg was bent backward. The Poland, armor that protected the knee, hung by a shred of supporting material. Where the Poland had been, a shard of bone protruded, smeared blood looking wet black in Droman's emerald light. "Can you set it?" Lincoln's voice. "We need to move before Teddy's goons come for us." The image shifted from Lukas to Morgan Stone, whose white hair glowed failing light bulb green in Droman's dim light. Just past her, Billy's scale armor took on the same hue. His face contorted with pain. He held his left hand close to his chest. Directly behind him, a rusted iron wall. Not a wall, a door, the kind that slid upward, the kind you saw on some freight elevators. Ariella pointed to the screen. Where are they? That's a tiny room. The bottom of an elevator shaft, Magda said. The image shifted again, to the broken knee, to Morgan's hands lightly feeling at the area. Magda could hear Lukas's labored breathing, hear the low grunts as he fought to control his pain. The injury is severe, Morgan said. I can't do anything here. Lukas's gauntleted hand shot up, grabbed Morgan's shirt. Then dull the fuck this hurts. Dull the pain, he said. The send that spell didn't work. Dull the pain. I'm good to go. Magda had known Lukas since he'd been a little boy, all gangly and awkward and wide-eyed with wonder. Now here he was, with a totally fucked up leg, obviously in agony, and he wanted to continue the mission, wanted to fight. Lukas Franks wasn't a little boy anymore. Do it, Morgan, Lincoln said. Let's get him move. Another gauntleted hand came into view, grabbed Lukas's wrist, and yanked it free of Morgan's shirt with a single, firm tug. Lincoln must have looked up, for on the screen was the hooded face of Sophia Franks, her pale chin and cheeks a spectral glow against the backdrop of her deep gray Rixator armor. You're done, Lukas, she said. Let's get you back up top. Lukas struggled to rise. I'm good. I can... You're out. Sophia looked at Morgan. Can you use your wind power again? Take him back up the shaft? Morgan glanced upward. Then the image on the screen shifted as Lincoln did the same. The tiny square of light high above had to be 200 feet away. I don't know, Morgan said. The mesh buzz made my power sputter on a fall of only 30 feet. I might get halfway up and it could cut out. She trailed off, not needing to explain the math from there. Lukas pushed himself up on one arm. Elevator's still there, he said. Get me up to it. I'll hack through the ceiling. Fuck, this hurts. I can climb the rest of the way myself. Morgan, do it, Sophia said. Right now. Morgan stood. In Magda's head, the image pulsed dead gray, a kind of supernatural static. On the screen, the image of Morgan fuzzed to milky green, and then she was gone. Only those mad swirls remained. It was as close to a corporate retreat as he was going to get. 10 workers in a neat line at the end of cell block 4, each with a gaunts modeled. 10 workers in a neat line at the end of cell block 4, each with a gaunt's mottled, bloated body on their face, many knuckled fingers wrapped around the back of their little heads. Thuengols watching them, bullpup assault rifles angled down, 1 thuengol for every 2 workers. And at the front of the line, chained and hooded, a thuengol gripping each of her arms, was his young foreman, wearing one of Haimana's hand-me-down kimonos. With her and these 10 workers, Teddy could hit the ground running at the backup site. A drop in overall productivity, sure, but what he did produce would be of the highest quality. 99% pure, perhaps even 100%. The best product meriting the highest prices. We're ready to march, Agneetha said. Teddy put his hands on the wall. He'd had Haimana create this shortly after they had moved in. It had taken her a while to build, as she slowly figured out what meshwork functioned in the mesh buzz and what did not. But like everything else she tried, she eventually got it right. Ooh, got teal, Teddy said. A 4-foot wide section of wall shimmered, wavered, then split down the middle, the halves swinging inward with a crunch of stone on stone. Dust streamers dropped down. A few pebbles and small rocks bounced off the floor. Where there had been a seamless wall, now there was an open entrance to a tight but well-made tunnel. On the ceiling, long dormant fireflies awoke, flared to life, casting a yellowish glow on the tunnel walls and floor. So simple. Once the workers, thuengols, Delilah, and Teddy were inside, he would seal the door, which would once again become solid stone. Franks and the others could search the cell block for weeks and not find it. "Move them out," Teddy said. Agneetha was first in, leading the way. Teddy was glad he could count on her. Once this business was complete, he'd make her a full-time employee. The thuengol leader strode into the tunnel. She'd made it 5 steps when one of the workers stretched his arms out, the movement so unexpected it made Teddy take a step back. The gaunted workers never moved on their own. The tunnel suddenly collapsed. Agneetha had an instant to look up before tons of rocks smashed her flat. Before she vanished from sight, Teddy saw a boulder cave in her skull. A frozen moment. One of the workers turned. If not for the gaunt on her face, she would have been staring straight at Teddy. Oops. A frozen moment. One of the workers turned. If not for the gaunt on his face, he would have been staring straight at Teddy. The worker's jeans tented at his crotch, then grew darker, the wet spot slowly spreading down his left leg. Antoni Petrowski. He had collapsed the tunnel. His loom centered on rocks and minerals, Teddy remembered. Antoni the phony's power had grown stronger in the 3 years he'd been kept down here. Another worker turned to face Teddy. Then she flashed with bright shades of orange and white, became a young Bengal tiger, stripes and all. Rosa Espindola Braz, daughter of a Brazilian industrialist, the 14th richest man in the world. Her gaunt's many-knuckled fingers twitched and spasmed and grabbed, trying to keep hold of her tiger face. Before Teddy could say a word, before the stunned thuengols could react, tiger claws slashed out, cutting through 2 of the mercenaries holding Delilah Droman upright. Another worker raised her arms. Who was that one? Oh yes, her dark skin. Penda Balogan, daughter of the famous actress. What was Penda's loom? Her loom was metal. A rattle of steel. Delilah Droman's chains fell away and clattered to the ground. As casually as a man tipping his hat to a lady, she reached up and pulled off her black hood. Her eyes fixed on Teddy. Eyes filled with hate. Eyes filled with death. "Surprise, boss," she said in her whisper of a voice. "There's been a change in management." A single, pregnant heartbeat of dead silence. Then the gaunt-faced workers, all the workers, started moving. Teddy turned and ran, sprinting for his room, for the only exit left, a half-dozen thuengols hot on his heels. Behind him, he heard automatic weapons opening up and the panicked screams of his dying mercenaries. Lincoln glanced up one last time, through the hole in the elevator roof, saw his brother high above, pulling himself hand over hand up the cable. There still could be traps in the elevator shaft, Morgan said. Could be, Sophia said. If so, he'll handle them. Everyone get ready. Lincoln, raise the door when I say. Droman's hands sputter-crackled with his green power. Morgan gripped her naginata, pointed the long blade toward the door. Billy held his shotgun, right finger next to the trigger, blistered left hand under the slide. Sophia notched an arrow in her longbow. She and Billy could engage targets at a distance. Lincoln and Morgan would hit anyone just outside the door. Lincoln closed his eyes for a moment. The Nini buzz made his reality tilt slightly. Not the spins exactly, but he felt the effects. Drinking 3 shots had been a mistake. All right, Sophia said. Raise it. Lincoln opened his eyes. Game time. With his right hand, he gave Bastard Maker a quick twirl, reconnecting with the hatchet's weight with its balance. The weapon had seen him through many dangerous times. Any as dangerous as this? Only one way to find out. They had hit the big nasties fast and hard. Even while the elevator's traps came at them, the thing had been descending fast. From the moment Lincoln and his sister rushed the restaurant's front entrance, not even 10 minutes had passed by. As smart as Teddy was, as prepared as he always seemed to be, that probably wasn't enough time for him to evacuate. Teddy was down here. So was Delilah. And Lincoln was going to get them both. With his left hand, he grabbed the frayed rope at the iron door's bottom. He lifted. The door rose easily, aided by hidden cantilevers. Beyond, a room with stone walls and floor, perhaps 20 feet by 20 feet. A cart loaded with hamburgers, fries, and drinks against a wall. Straight ahead, a dented, rusted iron door opened outward, leading into a dark corridor. On the left and right walls, similar iron doors, those closed. Lincoln, check the forward corridor, Sophia said. Morgan, check the left door. I'll check the right. Lincoln moved to the forward door, using the frame and the wall for cover. With only one eye exposed, he looked down its length. 8 cell doors, 4 to a side, he said. 3 slightly open, 5 closed. No movement in the left corridor, Morgan said. 2 cell doors open, 8 cracking rock and screeching metal. Lincoln looked up toward the sound, saw the ceiling coming down fast in a shower of dust and stone. Only a split second to react. He started to dive through the door, knew he wouldn't make it in time, knew he would be smashed flat. Someone hit him from behind, arms wrapped around his waist, driving him forward, knocking him to the ground. The ceiling slammed down behind him with a thunderous, ringing roar, making the floor beneath him shudder. The person atop him rolled off to the right. Lincoln instantly rolled left, came to his feet, as did Sophia, who immediately drew an arrow from her quiver hidden by her cloak, notching it in the same motion. Not even an inch past the open door's frame, a wall of steel, scratched and scuffed. And she hadn't even dropped her bow. Sophia nodded to the steel wall, turned her attention down the corridor, arrow half drawn. Lincoln tapped Bastard Maker's blade against the steel, checking for any kind of meshwork booby trap. Nothing happened. Droman. Droman, he said. Morgan. No answer. Were they dead, smashed beneath the steel? Walt, you there? Lincoln thudded the butt of his hatchet. Bam, bam, bam. He pressed his ear to the metal. He heard nothing. No response, he said. Was it a solid block of steel, as big as that room? Sophia didn't take her eyes off the corridor. No, she said. Maybe 2 feet thick, slid down in front of the door. I didn't see if similar plates fell in front of the other 2 doors. 2 feet of steel. If not for Sophia, Lincoln would have been smashed flat. She had been faster than him. She had saved him. "Thanks," he said. Maybe Billy can melt through this?" Sophia crept down the corridor. "We're not waiting to find out," she said. "Check the open cells. I'll cover you. Ignore the closed doors for now. We need to move as quick as we can." She was right. Whether Billy was alive or dead didn't change the fact that Teddy was down here. Delilah was down here, and if Lincoln didn't get to them fast, both of them would be gone. The floor rumbled beneath his feet. Something new was happening, something maybe past the plate of steel that separated him from Billy. Whatever it was, Billy would have to handle it, if he was still alive. Lincoln stepped ahead of his sister and looked into the first open cell. "Come on," Billy said. "Quickly!" The entire stone floor rose up, grinding against walls, scraping against the steel plate that had slammed down behind Lincoln and Sophia. Billy stood just beyond the door Morgan had checked. Droman hurried toward him, dropping to duck walk to slip through the door's narrowing space. Billy and Morgan helped the mage slide through. Droman stood just as the floor rose past the doorframe, sealing off that entrance with a wall of stone. "Mechanical traps," Droman said. "I'm sure of it. Two Fingers wouldn't risk unreliable meshwork. He set this up long ago." Morgan stared down the corridor. "Which means there may be more traps waiting for us." Droman followed her, both of them checking the open cell doors. Sorry guys, I mispronounced the thing. Morgan started down the corridor. "Which means there may be more traps waiting for us." Droman followed her, both of them checking the open cell doors. Billy lowered his shotgun, put his left hand, his burned hand with still swelling blisters, against the stone that blocked the door to the elevator room. Was Link okay? Was Sophia? "Walt," Morgan said. "Come on." Billy jogged to catch up. He passed an open cell, paused long enough to peek inside. 8 feet wide, 10 feet deep. Stone walls. A jail-style cot hung from chains. Filthy mattress. A square stone riser with a hole in it. From the faint smell, undoubtedly a toilet. Teddy kept a kid here? Had Delilah been kept in a room like this? Anger coursed through Billy again, made the filaments within him flutter. Power in that anger. So much power. "Walter, come on!" Droman at the corridor's far door, a closed door. Morgan next to him, hand on the door's handle, ready to open it, to push it outward. Billy ran to join them. Without another word, Morgan opened the door. Beyond, darkness. Billy stepped through first, shotgun in his hands. A bigger room. He could tell by the echoes of his footfalls, could hear Morgan and Droman step out behind him. And he could hear something else. A distant rustling. A clicking. "What is that sound?" Morgan asked. "Kellius, can you give us light?" Billy heard the unique, faint crackling sound. Billy heard the unique, faint sizzling sound of Droman using his power, or at least trying to. Droman's green light burst once, died out instantly. A camera flash that gave Billy the briefest impression of the room. High ceiling, distant walls. The light pulsed again. In that split second, at the far wall, perhaps 100 feet away, Billy saw something moving. Several somethings. Droman tried again, and this time, his green light stayed on, dimly lit the entire room. Billy's heart caught in his chest. He heard the heavy iron door slam shut behind him. "Hello, Master," The voice came from a woman in a red kimono, Haimana, higher up than she should be because her legs weren't there. Instead, from her waist down was the body of a huge, thick-legged black spider, an hourglass shape on her abdomen. Billy couldn't see the color in Droman's pale green light, but he knew that hourglass was red. Then, Billy saw the source of the rustling and clicking sounds. From behind Haimana, on either side, came dozens of huge insects, fanged 10-foot-long centipedes and heavy beetles the size of beer kegs. Spider Haimana smiled wide. "Welcome, Kellius," she said. "We have been waiting for you." There you go, junkies. That was a 47-minute long episode. Giant, crazy bit of work. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it. Goodbye. It's not really goodbye. I just had to stop recording. So there you go. So we got to save this. Baby girl, come on up whenever you're ready. Oops, that was wrong. I didn't want to quit that. All right, we'll quit that though. And let's go to the chit chat so I can see what you guys are saying. Yeah, it was thick. It was a thick one. It was a girthy one. You guys know, when I get swole, I get swole. I can't help it. I can't help myself. The Facebook live stream might have crashed. That is a serious bummer. Okay, yep. Facebook's down to one person. Shit. That's never, what a crapper. We got a bunch of people on YouTube and Twitch though. We'll see if Facebook comes back. I can't restart this without losing all of you guys. So Facebookers, if you're watching this after the fact, you're just going to have to get it in the podcast feed. Go to recent. Recent, I got open existing project. So right now I'm getting the deep cuts ready. Well, ain't that a bitch? Thought I saved that. Okay. Date modified. Nope. Lost it. All right, no problemo. Let's just make a new one. He's going to be here in 1 second, y'all. My templates. Deep cuts template. All right, here we're going to get into it. Yeah, girthy third act. I don't know if the rest of the last 3 episodes are going to be quite the same, but, I mean, let's be honest. They're probably going to be very long and strong, down to get that friction on, because my fiction got back. Okay, let's go. Pam says the Facebook chat crashed, but was able to hear the full episode. Pam, could you hear that on Facebook?
Yep.
Okay, great. Because right now it looks like we only, oh, that's nice, babe. She's opened the door, a little cooling air coming in. We have no people on Facebook right now. So thanks a bunch, Restreaming Facebook. That sucks balls.
We could hear it though.
You could hear it? Okay, good. Good. Thanks, Scott S. I did see a couple of errors in there. So let's get a cam going here. Let's go to main. Let's get you dialed in. That looks all right, babe. What do you think? Does that look all right?
Yep, it does. Let me get my...
And then remember, spread it out as far as you can.
That's fine, right?
Yeah. So, Nelson saw and heard the whole story on Facebook. Great. So we are a part of having that new plugin I told you about is it hopefully will modify some of the echo and bleed we've had between our mics, which we're still trying to solve. And we also have made a few changes, and we're pointing the microphones apart. So can you just slide over a little bit?
Yeah, but then...
For camera.
Okay.
There you go. All right, that's going to have to do. That's what we're doing. Let me have headphones on, see how we all sound. All right. And, I had you muted, sweetie.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, guys.
Okay, I got to remember to turn that off this time. So if I come back to the screen, there we go. That's good. All right.
Nice work muting the transitions channel.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. So let's see. Okay, first, schedule of the stank, everybody. I still hear the echo, but it's not nearly as bad as it was before.
Okay.
Do you think so?
I don't really hear it the same way.
Great. Doesn't hear it the same way. So let's see. Monday, June 17th, Slaybook 1 went live at Audible. Go buy the damn thing. Help us out. Sunday, July 14th, Slay episode 68 Value Meal went live in the feed. Tuesday, July 16th, Deep Cuts episode 7 went live in the feed. That one is Slay co-creator Rob Otto and I talking about our collaborative process and how our annual writing retreats work.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, July 21st, tonight's episode will go live in the podcast feed. Wednesday, July 24th, we will have a live read of Slay episode 70 titled Home Field Advantage.
And Home Field Advantage is the second to last chapter in this book or episode series in this episode in the series?
Yes.
Okay.
The 70 is second to last. 71 is last, but then the epilogue is 72.
Okay.
And that is a very, very important
So we
episode.
have 3 more weeks of Slay Book 2 before it goes out into the big wide world
That
and
is
gets into
correct.
production and stuff.
That
Okay,
is correct.
that's nice.
As Steve mentioned,
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Indeed.
I don't make no promises no more. I don't
That's a
make
good
no
thing.
promises
That's
no more.
probably a good thing.
All right. Updates. Crypt Book 2. I hit 70,000 words. That is slated for 110,000 words. I was going to do the review counts of Slay, Crypt, Earth Core Fits, etc. We don't have time for that. So we're going to get right into it. Let me first of all make sure we're recording your pumpkin. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Okay, let's check. Mike, can you talk a little bit, Peanut?
I can talk a little bit. It looks like the chat might be back up at since you stopped and restarted it. Might be back up at Facebook. I just did a test that says test. So just in case you guys on Facebook are still
I'm only
out
seeing
there.
one person on Facebook with my stats, but that could
might
be
be
very
me.
wrong. That could be wrong.
And that also could be me.
That could be you. Okay. Just talk a little bit more, babe.
So we went.
Pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're
pretty
good to go.
I think we're good to go. We're just going to go ahead and record here. Let me save this first. I goofed that up. Save this will be Project Mini.
It's D79. Absolutely not. You did not hear anything about Earth Core 3.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
We have so many things on our plate. Earth Core 3 won't even be entertained until some of that stuff comes off the plate.
You can burn in hell. That's what you can do. I did not say that.
Would I love to have an Earth Core 3? Yes.
Oh my God.
Am I going to
Both of you can
schedule
burn in hell. That's
an Earth Core 3? Not at all.
What are you trying to do to me? Jesus, I'm only one man. All right, here we go.
I'm
And
setting a timer for 15 minutes.
ladies and gentlemen, still watching. First of all, if you rejoined on Facebook, I understand you guys could hear it and maybe see it. You couldn't work in the chat. But if you missed anything, it'll be in the podcast feed this weekend. Now it's time to slash our way into Deep Cuts, the bonus episode podcast we do each week. You can hear these episodes at scottsigler.com or in your podcast feed if you're subscribed on iTunes or Spotify, which you can do at scottsigler.com/subscribe. Oh, shit, that was your line. God
I
damn
know.
it.
That's all right. So why don't you read the next line too?
Okay.
I'll set the timer again.
Let me hit record.
And start that timer.
And I literally just reminded A, like, hey, why don't we both read the stuff we're supposed to read beforehand?
That's all right. It's been a big day.
It's not recording. Give me a second.
All right. Well, I'll stop the timer again.
Oh, it was recording for some reason. I got to fix that template. Okay, let me zoom in here. Don't set the timer yet. Say something, honey.
Say something. Say something. Say something.
Great. All right, hit that timer.
All righty.
And here we go. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator discuss all the hot topics you can't find in a mall. I'm Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord.
And I am A.B. Sigler, audiobook narrator. And on this episode of Deep Cuts, we talk about the difficulty in and the need for taking a vacation when you are content creators and your content is your business and your income. As you guys know, we went off on... Oh,
yep.
You're next.
A reminder, these are bonus episodes. They are not part of the current story that is running in the Scott... A reminder, these are bonus episodes, not part of the current story that is running in our feed. Listen if you like. We'd love to have you be here, but there's nothing in this episode you need to keep track of the story we're currently telling.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
So, as you guys know, for the last 2 weeks, we were on vacation in Michigan. We were visiting family for the first week. If you tuned in for the last 2 Wednesday nights, you will know 2 weeks ago there was no deep cuts because we were deep in central Michigan, and the acoustics and all the things just didn't align for us to do a deep cuts episode. But we wanted to get the main story out. And it was interesting. There were a handful of hiccups, even though we had done a whole test during the day. Before we get into that, though, how was your vacation?
Vacation was really fun. I got to spend a bunch of time with mom and dad, which is very important at their age and our age. I got to spend time with my brother, who's an interesting cat, and got to spend a ton of time with Rob Otto, which is always fucking magic and awesome. And got to see a whole bunch of our high school pals. Mm-hmm. We took a glass bottom boat tour across Lake
Huron,
Michilimackinac, the Mackinac Strait, and got to see a couple of shipwrecks and very, very fun stuff. Went to Mackinac Island for a little bit. So overall, it was fantastic. The project Rob and I worked on, we didn't get done with what we wanted to get done. We got a great start on it. We can't tell you what that project is, but I'm sure you'll hear about it in the future. How was vacation for you?
It was good. There was one thing that I really liked. The first week we were downstate in Michigan visiting family. Scott and his brother and his dad went out one day on, I think, Lake Isabella, and took a boat out and went fishing, just the three of them. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. I wonder how long it has been, if you can estimate how long it has been since you, your brother, and your dad were fishing in the same boat. Any idea?
It's been a long time. A very long time, I think, because most of the fishing I do with my dad was I go to Florida, mm-hmm. and my brother Irv does not go to Florida. So I go to Florida, hang out with my parents, come back here. And Irv, at this point, was not preparing for football season because he's retired from being a football coach. Mm-hmm. So when it came time to go fishing in Michigan, he was happy to join it.
Yeah, that's the other part of that. His brother has been a football coach for most of his teaching career and is not a football coach for this coming academic season. So normally when we go to Michigan, he has a tiny bit of time to hang out with us. And this time we got to hang out with him quite a bit more, which was lovely. We also landed in Michigan at 5:30 in the morning on our wedding anniversary, which is also my birthday. So I got to spend that with my in-laws, which was really fun. I've never done that before. And then a week later, we went up to Sheboygan, Michigan, and we stayed on Lake Mullet. And that I love. We've done that now 3 times. And I love that quite a lot. I always consider myself, they get to work, and I've said this 1,000 times before, Rob and Scott, we arrive at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. They immediately get to work on the work that they're doing, the writing retreat work that they're doing. And I go grocery shopping, and they rearrange furniture so it's easier for them to work and stuff like that. And I'm kind of like the dorm mom or the house mom. Like, my job pretty much is like my normal customer service work that I do for Empty Set that I can do when we're away from home, mm-hmm. plus making the food.
Darn it. You just complimented me on that too.
Okay. And so that was pretty fun. As Scott said, there were a bunch of their high school friends in town, and we got to see a lot of that, and that was pretty fun. But yeah, you guys did a ton of work. You actually worked on this project on Slay.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
For a couple of days, and then you worked on a new project that we can't discuss for the rest of the time. Okay. It's amazing actually to watch you guys work, because I consider myself, like, I can make a list of things I got to get done during the day and get them done during a work day. And it's hard to imagine. They get up around 7:30, 8 a.m. and they're already working. The second that they're together, they're already working on these 2 projects. And I just don't know that I have that kind of bandwidth. It's pretty amazing, that dedication.
And we're talking this episode about the difficulty of taking and the need for taking a vacation. This really wasn't honestly a vacation. I kind of worked the whole time through.
Yep.
Rob doesn't have the same creative workload that we have. So maybe it was a vacation for him away from his regular job. I don't know. But man, taking a vacation is a bear, because we got to keep, and the whole time we were gone, we did 2 episodes of Slay. We did one deep cuts, because that content that we create gets dropped in the podcast feed, advertisements run against it, and that is a big part of our income. So we can't just take a week weeks off, right?
I mean, we could, and we have done that in the past for reasons. But the way that normally works, which doesn't seem, if it's going to be a working vacation anyway, it doesn't seem reasonable to. We shut down the store. We do all of that kind of thing, but it doesn't seem reasonable if we're already going to be working on this content, not to just keep the normal schedule. That's what we thought before we left. Now, like Scott says, this is a difficult thing to do because we spent probably a day and a half or 2 days before we left kind of working through, okay, what will the mobile studio look like? Because you guys can't see what I see looking at you, but there's a whole bunch of equipment and technology right here. There's things that get our microphone syncs. That, like Scott was saying earlier, there's things that keep us our voices separate, even though we're only 2.5 feet apart, which is hard to do. There's 2 monitors. There's lots of ring lights. There's fans. There's all this stuff. And we did, I think, a fair job of kind of creating a mobile studio. But we made a deal with each other that before we left, we would re-record the 2 story episodes that Scott read over the last 2 weeks, regardless, so that they would go into the podcast feed. So if somebody was coming at this fresh, they wouldn't get to episode, whatever it was, 67, and then hear this much different audio and not quite understand why.
And if you're hearing this in podcast, we may have already recorded it by the time you hear it. So you might not even notice the difference.
Yeah, you might not notice the difference. But those are some of the things that you have to consider if you're choosing to stay sort of live while you're on vacation, make it a working vacation. Now, if we were to go on vacation, like a true vacation, if we were going to a tiny island in the middle of nowhere, what would that look like?
Well, based on the nature of our business and the content we write and the books that we produce, I believe we would, if we're going to take, say, a 3-week vacation, really ball out somewhere, right? We would have to make sure we would have to write the episodes ahead of time. We would have to record the episodes ahead of time. We would have to have everything preloaded to drop in. So to take a full vacation, we have to make sure that all of our content is ready to go, scheduled, and will happen while we are not there. So that's possible for us, but that's a doubling up in the work for 3 weeks to get 3 weeks off.
For sure. And we have, not for 3 weeks, but we have done that before. In fact, for a writing retreat, I believe last year we pre-recorded content in advance, or maybe it was the year before. No, I think it was last year but we didn't anticipate that if he was just going to read into the microphone so that there would be something in the podcast feed every Sunday, that would screw up the audio-visual version of it that ended up on YouTube and ended up on Facebook. Okay. And we didn't know that until after the fact. So we're learning as we go, and there's always a change in technology, and there's always a change in the way things happen. So we're trying to live and learn. But I do think that both have its challenges. And as busy as you are, particularly this year, it wasn't feasible for you to write 2 whole episodes in advance.
Not with 4 books in production right now. We're doing Crypt 2, Warpath, Slay 2, and then of course GFL 7 is floating around there, plus the podcast, plus the deep cuts, all this stuff. It's I think about it, and I don't recall having taken a real vacation where I didn't do anything for. It's got to be over a decade or something.
And before you even moved to San Diego, but we were working together when you took vacations, when you still lived in San Francisco. And I think just the human being that you are, I don't think you are built out of cloth that just does no work at all. I don't think your mind quiets that way.
But this gives back to the subject of this, the importance of, the difficulty of, and the need to take actual vacations. So we've been married for a few years now, and we dated for a while before that. And I don't think we've ever been on an actual genuine, full-on no-work vacation, have we? I don't have a good memory like you do.
Yeah, I don't think that we have. I think that I watched you as a coworker for so long that you just you didn't handle that all that well. I do think that there is a reasonable expectation that you could take a vacation where you bring no recording equipment. Yeah. There is no social media. I believe those things are possible. For me personally, I don't think it's possible for you to, say, take a 2-week vacation and not write at all.
And part of the problem is most creators are in this situation. So a creator has a significant other that has their own separate job from the company. That's one thing, right? But if a creator is involved in the business with their significant other, which a real girl herself is, if I don't take a vacation, you don't really take a vacation.
Yeah.
And the longer we are married and the older we get, we're starting to look around. At least I'm starting to look around and see the importance of like, man, just go fuck off for a week somewhere.
Yeah, and it's difficult because just like all things, and I'm sure all of you guys have experiences like this too, without having the added sort of pressure of our business is ourselves, and that's kind of it. It's hard to kind of balance that. Like I have no problem at all with you writing on a vacation. I, in fact, think that that's probably a pretty solid thing if you're writing something short that, if we could take 3 weeks off and that's all you did.
Yeah.
But I think you might not be in that place quite yet. And when you see it, I think you see it by looking at me.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't get a break at all. And
that's exactly it. I mean, if it wasn't looking at you also having to work on your vacation and support the cause and everything, I'm not sure I would ever think about it, which is one of the great benefits of this relationship and of working with a significant other is I start to see some things that were outside of my visual scope. So my visual scope is widening, my peripheral vision is getting broader, and I'm like, it's like, frankly, it's not fair to you. Like if you were working a real job, like your good old corporate jobs back in the day, yeah, you may have to work on vacation, but you still get vacation.
And in fact, we have talked about that. We have talked about me taking a corporate job or a temporary job or a freelance job. And for years, up until June of 2023, the entire time we worked together, when I started working with Scott back in 2008, I was already working another job that I no longer work. I did logistics for Adam Savage. I think all of you know that. I stopped doing that in June of 2023 as a normal everyday gig. And now I just kind of pinch hit for the Savage team when they need it, which brings us to an interesting thing. We just took a 2-week vacation, which wasn't really, was it a vacation? Yes, absolutely. No question about it. Was it truly a break? I'm not so sure that it was. And here's a thing that you have to consider that I think, honestly, neither one of us considered. There is an empty set project this weekend in the works that we can't tell you anything about that will mean that Scott doesn't get a break at all this weekend. He will be working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the week starts, and then next weekend is Comic-Con, and we are both working Comic-Con. So Scott is not going to get a break at a day where he could sleep in or watch TV or play video games all day for at least 3 weeks, and that's strange that we're not really well rested from our 2-week vacation, and we won't get a day off for 3 weeks.
Not at all. Okay, hold on
Pam said on YouTube, you can have the time but no money if you take a vacation, or work for the money but have no time for vacation. And that's exactly the conundrum we're talking about.
That's conundrum. And we're trying to figure that out. And, it's as... Oh, hey, we got to take a break?
Yeah, we're going to take a break.
Okay, we got to take a break. We'll be right back, continue this conversation right after this short message. And you can cut this part. But look at that.
Yeah, perfect.
Right? Perfect. Fantastic. All right, wait for it. And, wow, you can adjust that.
Yeah.
Remember when I told you got to read the script, goddammit?
He asked us both to read the script before the show started. Yep.
Hit it. Welcome back to Deep Cuts, the show with all the hot topics you can't find out of sight of the food court.
I'm missing it. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I did it too.
Yeah, you want to do it again?
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, why not?
Okay, here we go.
Sorry, guys.
Welcome back to Deep Cuts, the show with all the hot topics you can't find out of sight of the food court.
And as we've been discussing, being such a micro organization, the difficulty of taking a vacation and the need to take a vacation and also create content and continue running your business so that you make income. It is kind of a conundrum, but it's an exciting thing if you own your own business. I don't know. I remember myself in my corporate life absolutely bringing my work computer on a vacation, which is insanity when I think of that. I don't feel the same way now, but I don't know why I did that before, because I never cared about my I cared a lot about my corporate job, but I never cared about it this much. And I never had a desire to see it succeed to this degree because it's just the two of us. But moving on, I do have another question. as a creator and as a person who is driven to create every single day,
Yep.
do you think you would ever get to a spot where you could take a day off, a whole day off where you're not sick or anything else?
We've talked about that a lot. Like A's come in, it's like, okay, you've been busting your ass on this book, then this book. It's been nonstop. So when you finish this book, you're going to sit on your ass. You're going to get a box of Cocoa Puffs, a gallon of milk, and play video games all day, hang out in your pajamas. And we are, I think, 6 books back now on that having never happened.
Not a full week.
As Pam's great quote, you can have the time and no money or the money and no time. We got to figure that part out because you deserve some time to sit on your lovely ass and do absolutely nothing. I deserve some time to sit on my fine ass and do nothing. But so yes, I think I'm going to get to that point but we have to literally plan days off where I'm not working. Part of the problem though, for me, as a creator, it's not just the creative drive, it's the fucking ADHD. It's not doing something for a day, not having a project, not fixing a door or working on something in the house or doing something to the plants outside or taking the dogs and going and doing a thing. Like sitting around is difficult.
But taking the dogs or taking care of your home and all that jazz, I don't think that counts. In fact, yesterday, since we, like I just mentioned, are not going to have a day off for a while, a couple weeks more. Yesterday on our way home from vacation, I had a little bit of a meltdown saying like, I didn't even get one day to kind of just sit in the backyard and read a book. Not one day. Mm-hmm. Now, again, he mentioned we took a glass bottom boat ride with friends. Like I had fun for sure. I'm not saying that, but I got it kind of in my head that I didn't get a single day to just stay in my PJs the whole day if I wanted. As long as Rob Otto didn't mind that. So I took yesterday, I did my work in the morning that I had to do, and then I took the rest of the day off. And to your point of you having ADHD, I do not have ADHD, but I was so sort of frazzled by the whole thing that what I ended up doing was reorganizing my closet and my dresser drawers and donating 3 bags of clothes to get rid of them and get them out of the house
and my closet.
Have things look a little cleaner, and kind of reorganizing my makeup drawer and giving myself what I normally call an amnesty day, where I know I bought it, I know I was supposed to wear it, I know it was supposed to I know everything, but I can just donate it even if I've never worn it. I can bring it and give it to people who will use it and just let it go. And I started that after my divorce in 2016, because in that year when I was getting divorced and was single and alone in this house and all that other stuff, I bought every single plastic cooking accoutrement or silicone accoutrement that Facebook suggested, every useless thing. And I gave myself a day kind of in 2018 to be like, okay, cool, you're a little bit better off mentally, just get rid of all that stuff, donate to somebody else. I think that's a thing that will take practice though. As a creator and as somebody with ADHD, that will take working on that and muscle memory. And I think that will be uncomfortable. Are you willing to do that kind of work?
We gotta. I don't know. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I think my vacation is going to be something like we are repainting the deck this week. Mm-hmm. Then I am actually doing something, hands-on something, and we can probably combine it with redoing the deck and taking the dogs to the beach. But we really want to get back to traveling. We want to go to Europe before Putin rolls through. Want to get back to Paris, which a place that we just had a great time. So there are certain trips we want to take where I can't be working and I can't have my hands on it. I just have to walk away from work and do that. Yeah. We have learned, however, this goes back to the topic and for you creators, we have learned I'm very good at writing in the car, the improving of writing in the car. So A drives, I write while I'm in the car, and I had 2 days where I did 2,000 to 3,000 words while in the car, which is a full day's worth of work. I can write on planes. Mm-hmm. I got Sleigh 69 finished on the plane home from Michigan. So if I can use the traveling parts to try and get something done to scratch that creative itch and also that Midwestern work ethic itch, like I got to be doing something, got to be contributing, food on the table, got to contribute to the family, we got to go. Then I think being able to just kick around Paris and eat cheese sandwiches would be awesome.
You're so excited about the cheese sandwiches.
So good.
As a side note for anybody who is wondering, the car writing is especially effective because I am a person who gets car sick easily. So anytime I can drive, I want to drive because I can sit in the car for 10 hours if I'm driving. I cannot do that if I'm not driving. So that works out really well for the best of it.
Yep. Tyler Miller points out anyone listening to the podcast after won't even know there was some missing weeks. And we do have a shit ton of content now. Yeah. Like if you go look for a podcast, you go to any podcast engine, search for a name. We have the Infected Trilogy. Mm-hmm. We have Ancestor. We have Nocturnal. We have the entire GFL. We're in the process of doing the entire GFL. 2 full seasons of Slay. Blood is Red. Just, hundreds of hours of content out there. So yes, this stuff does make money for us to some degree when we are out, but we're really focused on trying to keep stuff in the feed and kind of reset the tone of everything. So yeah, we can do that.
So I had you guys don't know this, but Scott does, in April of 2016, I had a catastrophic email failure for my, we work on a Mac system, and for my Apple, all the stuff that wasn't Gmail, which was like 3 or 4 different accounts. And I lost, we started our business in 2009, and I lost every single email between 2009 and 2016, April 4th, related to Empty Set. And it was so incredibly difficult. It was so hard because I've said this 50 times in this podcast, but we're a 2-person company. We're just these people. So, and I am the one who has our corporate memory, so to speak. Scott is focused on the creativity and the social media, and I'm kind of focused on everything else. And we had a POP system for email, and we lost all of it, or I lost all of mine anyway. And it was so devastating, I'd say, for probably about a month. And then it was wildly liberating because I had no choice but to start over. And one of the things that I did that I don't think the creative side can do, but I was able to do is, of course, I went to an IMAP system now, so Gmail keeps all of our stuff. But more than that, I just had to forgive myself and say, when somebody emailed and said, we've been talking about this, you told me you were going to get back to me in 2 months, where are we at? I not only got to say, or not only had to say, but I got to say, I am so sorry. I had this catastrophic email failure. I know that we did this. Can you send me, the last email that we went from, and then go from there? And it was very liberating because it made me able to reprioritize and recategorize and reevaluate all the projects that we were or weren't doing. And I would love to know what you think about figuring out a way to do that in a corporate sense. In a creative sense. Sorry.
It's going to be difficult because one of the problems when I walk away from a project for too long, I lose a lot of the nuts and bolts and the granularity of the story. And then that requires more review time when I come back and say, when I wrote Pandemic, I had to really carefully review Infected and Contagious instead of just having that in my head because there was a 5-year span between Contagious and Pandemic. The biggest problem we have right now with that concept as far as taking vacations or taking time off is Slay is a 5-book series. We're about to finish book 2. So 3 books to go. The Crypt is a 5-book series. We're only hitting the first draft of book 2. So there are 3 books to go there. And there are 3 books left in the Galactic Football League series, one of which is heading into final draft. So right there is 8 books. 8 books that we have to get done. That's an enormous amount of time. That could take another 4 years.
Oh, at least.
So that concept of the cataclysmic email crash, that's not tenable. So we kind of have to work. We got to figure out how to work vacations into getting these books done.
And the interesting thing about the 8 books that he just noted is that those are we have already committed to, we have already promised them to you guys. They are all continuations of published beginnings of series. And so the likelihood of those 8 books not happening, as long as he's able to write, slim to none. That said, the likelihood of no new projects coming down the pike in the next 4 to 6 years, or the likelihood of us being able to say no to an opportunity, specifically the one that I can't talk about this weekend, is we don't necessarily have the time for it. We can't not do it. And those things are very difficult to balance because there's a person to make it very black and white, and it is absolutely not this black and white. There's me saying, like, cool, finish these 8 books, and then we can reset, redo. We'll take a break. We'll take a vacation. You can work on anything you want and it'll be easy. That's never going to, unless we actively manage the to-do list, which is very difficult to do over 4 to 6 years. We will always be this busy. We will always have 8 to 10 projects, 8 to 15 projects in the works, 8 of which are full-length novels, and you write long novels, things like that. It's a very difficult thing. I don't mean to say that if you have a non-creative business, you don't deal with the same thing. You certainly do. But for a creative business, some of the things that we can't tell is we think it takes Scott about 3 months to write a first draft.
Hard
sort of depends on the first draft.
It depends on what are edits coming back from another book. Do we have to do marketing stuff, et cetera, and all that. So 8 books on the line. We are going to try and figure out how to get more time off, more family time, more husband and wife time, and not, if I could work every day for the rest of my life, probably, but that's not how marriages work. That's not how partnerships work. So we got to bring all of that. We got to bring all of those guns have to come to bear and on the target. Yeah,
and were you just saying if it were just you think you could write every day? Because we tested that in April of this year, and that's not true either.
That's true.
That was very difficult. And we're about to test it until football season starts again.
Sometimes a brother burns out a little bit, and then I just spend a lot of time staring at the wall, wondering if I've changed my underwear in the past 3 days.
Now, listen, I believe no matter what your job is, if you run a business, if you're a corporate employee, I believe everybody goes through that moment where you're like, if I can just get through this project, these 3 weeks, this 2 months. I did it when I worked in corporate. My job was project-based, and I used to do that all the time. But, as you're wrapping up, I wrapped up one of the biggest projects that ever in the whole world of clinical research in 2005 that I had been working on for almost 10 years. And as I was wrapping it up, I was halfway through, I was thinking, oh my gosh, when this is done, I'm definitely taking a break. And, that's not how it works, because just like everything, it's the middle that is the busy part. And then when you're wrapping things up, you have more kind of time in your day, and that's when you start something new all the time.
All right.
I do have this to say, though.
Okay.
We have had one vacation since we've been married that was absolutely a break, but it was 3 days long. And we went to Palm Springs for your birthday
that was great.
A few years back. And
maybe it was baby steps. We'll take a little.
But that's
might
it.
Go to Palm Springs again.
And that was very restorative in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that it was restorative is we were quite close to home in case we needed to do something. And I think you did bring your iPad with you, but you didn't have any active scheduled writing time.
We were like, we're not doing a project these days, but we had it.
And because it was short duration, if and when Scott had a moment of, oh God, I've idle hands, I've been sitting here doing nothing for 2 days, he, instead of actually carving out time from the vacation to work, he got to be like,
Bye,
okay, we'll be back back home in 24 hours. I'll just push it to next week, and I'll figure it out there. I'll just work late one night next week. So that kind of worked.
That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts. Next episode, we're going to talk about, I did screw that up. I thought I redid that. We'll edit this part out, you guys. No, workload
that's
opportunity.
New. Yeah. Workload versus opportunity. This is sort of the thing we're talking about for this weekend.
Did you rewrite that? Did I write that?
You just
line?
had an X there.
Oh, well, that's no good, because we're going to talk about all the demands of being. I thought we were going to talk about all the demands of being a modern writer.
All right.
Is this a topic you want to do?
No, let's just snap it in and do it again. You say what you're going to say.
Okay.
We have time for it. We're going to do deep cuts for weeks.
How's the sausage gets made? That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
You're going to have to do it again, because you know what you're talking about and I do not. Sorry, guys.
Here we go, one more time. That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts. The next episode, we're going to talk about all the crazy demands that go into being a modern day author, because it ain't just about writing. So thank you for joining us. You all smell an awful lot like flowers.
We love you guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Good. Got it done.
Good. Well,
guys,
thank you guys for watching the sausage get made there.
The sound is so much better. Can you? To me, it sounds a lot better. Day. So this plugin, there's a guy named Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, and he's been an associate of mine since the Pod Show days, so 15 years or so, and he runs a YouTube channel called The Microphone Assassin, and he covers all kinds of recording stuff, really focusing on podcast recording in particular. He's got all kinds of gear, all kinds of tips, all these things you can do. So look him up. If you have a podcast or want to do a podcast, look up Mark Yoshimoto, Yoshimoto, and Nemcoff. Get anywhere close to that spelling, you're going to find him. He gives me a bunch of tips.
And although he runs Microphone Assassin now, he has, if you have been following Scott since the Podiobook days or are a longtime podcast fiction listener, he also has some pretty entertaining books that you can look up, and they're probably on Scribed if I don't miss my mark.
Trying to find his book. I can't find it. I'm blanking right now. Too much work. Well, we'll bring it up. We'll put it in the show notes. Anyways, so that is it, guys. Thank you very much. We are going to now shuffle on off to Buffalo. And anything else?
No.
Okay. Let me get this queued up so I can get this here.
Thank you guys so much for sticking with us.
Goodbye. See you next week. Goodbye. Mwah.